वीडियो वीडियो, हाँ ओके।
अब इन पर्सन को करूं, दबाओ नहीं,
इन पर्सन या ऑनलाइन करिए सर। कहाँ पे हुआ रहा है ऑप्शन?
या रहा इन पर्सन या रहा ऑनलाइन
पार्टिसिपेंट्स में देखिए सर, कितना दिख
है।
रहा है? 6 पार्टिसिपेंट्स में।
6 पार्टिसिपेंट दिखा है।
ये आपको बोल रहा है कि आप इनवाइट कर सकते हैं, रिकॉर्ड एंड।
नहीं,
इनका कहाँ है सर? वो आप जो बोल रहे हैं कि ऑनलाइन, और वो कहाँ है दिखने?
अब वो आना बंद हो गया।
शुरू नहीं हुआ ना सर, ये ऐसे ही चल रहा है।
नहीं तो पहले आ रहा था।
हाँ देखिए, ये लाइव लाइव जा रहा है अभी।
ओके,
स्टार्ट होता है। इसके लिए कोई पासवर्ड और वो नहीं है शायद, मुझे लगता है सर। आपको इसी में ही, आपका प्रेजेंटेशन इसी में ही है।
नहीं मेरा प्रेजेंटेशन तो बाद में है।
हाँ मतलब जो डाइनिंग वाला,
हाँ
तो उसमें ये हॉल नंबर 1 में ही होगा, इसलिए उसका कोई वो नहीं भेजेंगे, सिर्फ लिंक भेजेंगे शायद।
हॉल नंबर 1 में ही है ना जुड़े।
मीटिंग आईडी और ये सब कुछ नहीं भेजेंगे ना?
उन्होंने कहा मीटिंग आईडी, अब जो आपका HK गुप्ता 1942 मीटिंग आईडी है मेरी,
इसके लिए सर,
जो मैंने नहीं फॉर जब मैंने रजिस्ट्रेशन हुआ ना,
हाँ,
तो उस पर दे रजिस्टर्ड मी
हाँ,
एंड गिव आईडी पासवर्ड HK गुप्ता at 1942 H capital, और by Harsh G 123 is the,
लेकिन मेल में तो भेजने की
ये आ गया फिर इन पर्सन या ऑनलाइन।
वाली है सर, इन पर्सन।
ये नहीं दे रहा, ये है ना इन पर्सन, इट्स नॉट टेकिंग।
तो ऑनलाइन ही लगा फिर।
ऑनलाइन करो तो जाता, वो भी नहीं हो रहा कुछ।
नहीं नहीं सर, ये वो नहीं है, ये तो उनका वो है, क्या है ना सर, ये उसका मतलब बैनर।
बैनर लगाया हुआ है,
हाँ, वो
तो
है।
ये इन पर्सन फिर ऑनलाइन यहाँ क्यों लगाया हुआ है?
ये लोग इन पर्सन आ रहे हैं शायद, और ये लोग
ओके,
ऑनलाइन जुड़ेंगे।
यू आर राइट, दीज आर ऑल इन इंडिया।
हाँ
Dr. Madhavan Nair Rajivan, Chairman of the National Advisory Committee of the Joint Scientific Assembly, Professor Ashutosh Sharma, Secretary, Department of Science and Technology and Ministry of Earth Sciences, Professor Shekhar C. Mande, Director General CSIR and Secretary DSIR, and Dr. V.M. Tiwari, Director CSIR-NGRI and Chairman, Local Organizing Committee, Joint Scientific Assembly. May I now invite the chief guest and the dignitaries to kindly grace the dais. Sir, please. Thank you, sir. We are also pleased by the virtual presence of our international dignitaries. Dr. Alik Ismail Zadeh, Secretary, International Science Council, Dr. Mayura Mandia, President IAGA, Dr. Kenji Satake, President IASPEI, and Dr. Catherine Weller, President IUGG. So with this, may I now request Dr. V.M. Tiwari, Director CSIR-NGRI and Chairman LOC JSA to kindly offer flower bouquet to the chief guest, Honorable Minister of State for Science and Technology and Earth Sciences, Dr. Jitendra Singh. Thank you, sir. I also request Professor Ashutosh Sharma, Secretary, Department of Science and Technology and Ministry of Earth Sciences, to kindly felicitate our chief guest, Honorable Dr. Jitendra Singh, with a souvenir. Thank you, sir. IAGA, International Association of Geomagnetism and Aeronomy, and IASPEI, International Association of Seismology and Physics of the Earth's Interior, are two associations of scientists of the International Union of Geodesy and Geophysics, IUGG, which is the leading global academic organization in the field of geophysics. These associations cover a vast domain of the solid earth sciences and aeronomy, from the Earth's internal structure, geodynamics, natural hazards, and earthquake genesis to observation and simulation of solar and planetary magnetic field and space weather. This kind of the linkage between the deep earth structure and geomagnetism and the role of fluids in earthquake, nucleation, and few examples to emphasize the significance of the joint scientific assembly of these two associations to promote cross-disciplinary research. This assembly will also commemorate the remarkable Diamond Jubilee celebration of Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, National Geophysical Research Institute, CSIR-NGRI, located in Hyderabad. NGRI is hosting this joint scientific assembly supported by IAGA, IASPEI, Department of Science and Scientific and Industrial Research, Ministry of Science and Technology, and the Ministry of Earth Sciences, Government of India. So the time has come to inaugurate the joint assembly and begin the scientific deliberations. On this special occasion, we shall begin with the inaugural program of the Joint Scientific Assembly in Indian traditional way by lighting the traditional diya. May I please request the chief guest and the dignitaries to kindly join us with the lamp lighting ceremony, followed by playing of Saraswati Vandana. So can we have the lamp lighting video, please?
या कुन्देन्दु तुषारहार धवला या शुभ्रवस्त्रावृता या वीणावरदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वेतपद्मासना
Thank you. May I now request Dr. Madhavan Nair Rajivan, Chairman of the National Advisory Committee of the Joint Scientific Assembly, to kindly deliver the welcome address. Sir, please.
Good afternoon to all of you. Honorable Minister for Science and Technology and Earth Sciences, Dr. Jitendra Singh Ji, Dr. Ashutosh Sharma, Secretary DST and Secretary MOES, Dr. Shekhar Mande, DG CSIR, Dr. VM Tiwari, Director NGRI, senior scientists and delegates of this Joint Scientific Assembly. Good afternoon, all of you. As the chairman of the National Committee for Joint Scientific Assembly of IAGA and IASPEI, I am extremely happy to welcome all of you. The Joint Scientific Assembly of the International Association of Geomagnetism and Aeronomy and International Association of Seismology and Physics of the Earth's Interior, two major associations of the International Union of Geodesy and Geophysics, IUGG, is an important event. I am very delighted that we have assembled for the inaugural of the Joint Scientific Assembly, which has brought together researchers of different disciplines of the earth sciences to foster cross-disciplinary ideas and promote joint research programs for improving our understanding of the coupled earth processes and their impact on society. These associations cover a vast domain of the geosciences and aeronomy, from the Earth's internal structure, geodynamics, natural hazards, and earthquake genesis to observation and simulation of solar and planetary magnetic field and space weather. The linkage between the deep earth structure and geomagnetism and the role of fluids in earthquake nucleation are a few examples to emphasize the significance of the Joint Scientific Assembly of these two associations to promote cross-disciplinary research. Our understanding of geomagnetic field behavior has improved many-folds during the last decades. Data on magnetic reversals indicate that last reversal was 786,000 years ago. Devastating earthquakes, tsunamis, cyclones, avalanches, and landslides cannot be tamed, but relentless pursuance of related earth mechanisms advances towards increasing resilience to such calamities. It's also a matter of satisfaction that such an event marks the Diamond Jubilee of CSIR-National Geophysical Research Institute and being held during the 75 years of celebration of India's independence. I am also glad that more than 850 registered delegates from all over the world are participating in this assembly, and I welcome each one of them. This assembly is consisting of 53 symposia that include 1 Diamond Jubilee Symposia, 8 Joint Symposia, 27 IAGA Symposia, and 17 IASPEI Symposia. These are spread over 80 oral presentation sessions and 11 poster presentation sessions, each of 2 hours duration. The sessions are organized during 1645 to 1845 Indian Standard Time and also 2015 to 2215 Indian Standard Time to optimize global coverage. There are 58 oral presentations, out of which 121 are invited and 218 posters. In addition, we have also 3 plenary lectures and IAGA Shen Kuo model lecture. Scientists from 57 countries are participating in this joint assembly. This assembly will also facilitate 24 business meetings of IAGA, 20 business meetings of IASPEI, including 1 for Asian Seismological Commission. I had a pleasure of supervising the preparation of this mega event of earth sciences for the last 2 years. Though the COVID pandemic has severely impacted our plan of physical meeting, but could not deter the enthusiasm of the researchers who are joining this event virtually. I take this opportunity to welcome all of you on the behalf of Indian Earth Science community and also wish you very, very useful deliberations. I would like to specially congratulate Dr. VM Tiwari, Director NGRI, and his team, able team, for putting up hard work towards organizing this mega event. I wish you all the best for excellent deliberations. Wish you all the best. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you very much, sir, for the inaugural address. May I now request Professor Ashutosh Sharma, Secretary, Department of Science and Technology and Ministry of Earth Sciences, to kindly deliver the inaugural address for the session.
Honorable Minister of Earth Sciences and Science and Technology, Dr. Jitendra Singh, Professor Catherine Whaler, President IUGG, Professor Alik Ismail Zada, Secretary ISC, Professor Miora Mandia, President IAGA, Professor Kenji Satake, President IASPEI, Dr. Rajivan, former Secretary, Ministry of Earth Sciences, and Chairman of National Advisory Committee, Professor Shekhar Mande, Director General, CSIR, Dr. VM Tiwari, Director, National Geophysical Research Institute. I am indeed delighted to participate in the joint assembly of two very important international associations of IUGG, namely the International Association of Geomagnetism and Aeronomy and the International Association of Seismology and Physics of the Earth's Interior. Both IAGA and IASPEI have a long and distinguished history of nearly 100 years, marked by some of the outstanding scientific accomplishments in their areas of study. The internal workings of the planet Earth are extremely complex, very fascinating, and to explore them, to probe them, requires careful acquisition of variety of data sets and painstaking long periods of time. In this regard, the activities promoted by the two associations and very long work carried out by 2 to 3 generations of scientists needs to be complemented. Today, we can boast of much improved understanding of the forces driving the Earth engines, the magnetic field of the Earth, geomagnetic phenomena, the science of upper atmospheric phenomena, the internal structure of the Earth, and geodynamics, thermal structure in continents and oceans, earthquake processes, earthquake hazard and risk, to just name a few areas. In the recent decades, the technological advances in Earth
Sir.
Welcome back again. Once again, there have been disruptions which are beyond our control, so apologies for that. I don't think anyone missed anything that I said. I was just recalling in the end that there is an unfortunate natural calamity that happened in India a few months ago. That was the Chamoli disaster. And two very fundamental studies have come out of that. Both the studies address two very fundamental issues. One is, why did this happen in the first place? And second, whether this can be predicted in future, where it is likely to happen. And both these studies have been published in the prestigious journal Science. One of the studies that has been published in Science is also from our own laboratory and organizer of this meeting, Viren Tiwari. So I will congratulate him for this particular study, whether it can be predicted in future. I don't have much to add. I know that all of us are eager to hear others. We already lost time. Thank you very much and welcome to the meeting.
Thank you, sir. And our apologies for the internet failure and connection disruption. So now we are connected and it's our pleasure to join virtually with our international dignitaries. And I would request them for their messages for this inaugural address. So Dr. Ali Ismail Zadeh, Secretary, International Science Council, is a mathematical geophysicist known for his contribution to computational geodynamic and natural hazard studies, pioneering work on data assimilation in geodynamics, as well as for outstanding service to the Earth and space science community. He is presently not available to join with us, but has left a message. I request the team to kindly play the message.
Distinguished guests, dear colleagues, the scope of international scientific collaboration has been changing over the past 100 years, from the development of pure scientific research to the research contributing to sustainable development. The importance of the understanding and the appreciation of science in society has never been greater as humanity faces the challenges of living sustainably on our planet. The ongoing global pandemic showed that the world was not well prepared to tackle with the disease. Despite scientific knowledge about the coronaviruses, their risk, economic and financial consequences were available for decades. How to make scientific knowledge to be useful, usable, and used? This is one of major challenges of scientific society. The scale and complexity of contemporary global challenges demands new mode of international scientific collaboration that transcend disciplinary boundaries right across the natural and social sciences. Recognizing this reality and its urgency led the International Council for Science, ICSO, and the International Social Science Council to merge in 2018, creating the International Science Council, which I represent today at this meeting. Although IC is only 3 years old, its roots go to 1990, when the International Research Council, as well as IUGG, were established just after the First World War. It's a great pleasure to convey warm greetings of all participants of this scientific assembly from the International Science Council. ISC brings together more than 210 national and international organizations. And today the Council is the largest non-governmental scientific institution designed to defend and to promote the inherent value of science using all means of science policy and diplomacy, and to provide a powerful and credible voice for science at a time when the voice faces unprecedented threats. The Council operates worldwide, not only via its scientific member organizations like national academies, councils, and unions, but also through its co-sponsor programs and global scientific networks, including scientific programs related to climate and environmental change, disaster risk reduction, ocean preservation, polar research, research on urban health, poverty, and on transformations to sustainability. In 1992, the International Science Council, together with the World Federation of Engineering Organizations, leads the United Nations Scientific and Technological Community Major Group. This includes a representation of science by the participation and organization of side events at the UN General Assemblies and UN conferences where the voice of science is required, scientific input and advice, participation in UN advisory bodies, and work together with UN agencies and programs. The Council has initiated an ambitious program of scientific activities that include engagement at the science policy interface in relation to major 21st century challenges. The Council has identified 4 strategic challenge domains in which the global voice for science is most needed and could be most effective. Digital domains represent broad landscapes of network topics which you see on the right. Well, I wish the joint IAGA and IASPEI Scientific Assembly very fruitful delivery, and IUGG and its association prosperity and success in promoting geophysical sciences worldwide and in delivering scientific knowledge and evidences to policymakers and to society. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Zadeh. So we are also connected with Dr. Mayura Mandia, President IAGA, who is the Program Manager for the Solid Earth Observation at CNES, the National Center for Space Studies in France, and is best known for her work on geomagnetic jerks, sub-decadal changes in the Earth's magnetic field. So I request Dr. Mayura Mandia for her inaugural address.
Thank you. Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear friends from India and around the world, many thanks for offering me the possibility to express a few words at this inaugural ceremony on behalf of IAGA. I sincerely hope that my message finds you and your loved ones in good health. We are in the midst of a global health crisis, the coronavirus pandemic, which has impacted us all. My speech is, you can guess, inspired by the Earth's magnetism. We often say the Earth's magnetic field varies in space and time. These 2 attributes, space and time, are fundamentals of our own existence and have been dramatically affected. Consider our experiences of space. Our mobility has become severely restricted, reduced around our homes, towns, countries, and today, we are not all together in the exceptional place conceived for this meeting in Hyderabad. So sorry about. Perhaps, less obviously, The lockdown has also affected our experiences of time, the most important feature being a feeling of being stuck in the present, combined with the inability to plan ahead. We currently don't know when we as geoscientists can meet. More severely, many of us don't know when we will go back to work in our institutions and universities. Corona times, in fact, consist of many different times, such as time of lockdown, quarantine time, and home office time. We have learned to inhabit these new times, even in our community. We know that the IAGA activities cover a wide scope of topics and methodologies, a few just named here, including notably field measurements and laboratory studies. Data collection, data analysis, as well as education and outreach activities rely also on field work and laboratory access. Moreover, our role as professors and supervisors of PhDs and postdocs has had to adapt rapidly to this changing environment. In particular, we have had to consider options for preserving the lines of communication with our students in absence of face-to-face teaching and to seek out effective online equivalents. The ability to travel physically to a different location, to reunite with friends and colleagues, and to make new contacts is equally significant for many of us. Even more importantly, early career researchers need to build their own network via these in-person meetings to interact with and receive feedback from more experienced scientists, and also to enjoy the atmosphere that a meeting can provide away from their office or home country. I know that virtual meetings have not yet come close to overturning the traditional conference format, so I hope to see our early career researchers and discuss these issues and many others together during the next IAGA conferences. This joint scientific assembly of two associations of the International Union of Geodesy and Geophysics is hosted by the National Geophysical Research Institute in Hyderabad. This meeting serves many roles beyond the science that is presented in lectures and poster sessions. The administrative business of our association is conducted here. It serves as a site of our decision-making and, more importantly, as a place to connect people from around the world in person. Unfortunately, we'll meet only virtually during the next week. To organize this joint scientific assembly in this specific new format, many people have worked a lot, and I would like to thank them. I am not able to name here all IAGA officers, conveners, and co-conveners, but I would like to deeply thank them for the work done. I would like, with your permission, to thank the National Advisory Committee, the Scientific Program Committee, the Local Organizing Committee, and the Operational Committee. I would like also to express my warm thanks to a few people deeply involved in organizing this meeting, and I would like here to name Virendra Tiwari, Harsh Gupta, Kusumita Aurora, Archana Bhattacharya, Prakash Kumar, Monica Corte, the IAGA Secretary General, and Johannes Schweitzer, the IASPEI Secretary General. Finally, I hope that this meeting will give us a possibility to exchange ideas and research and to open new ways of next collaboration. Wishing you all a successful meeting and a fully interesting week. And also, I would like to express my warm congratulations to the National Geophysical Research Institute for the Diamond Jubilee. Just have a drink for this, and all the best from my side. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mandya, for connecting with us and for your address. So we are also connected with Dr. Kenji Satake, who is a professor at the Earthquake Research Institute, University of Tokyo, and is a Japanese seismologist who has made significant contributions to subduction and tsunami research. So may I now invite Dr. Kenji Satake, President IASPEI, for the inaugural address.
Yes, Dr. Jintara Sim, Honorable Minister of State for Science and Technology and Earth Sciences. Professor Ashutosh Sharma, Secretary, Department Science and Technology and Ministry of Earth Sciences. Professor Shekhar C. Mande, Director General of CSIR. Dr. Madhavan Rajivan, former Secretary, Ministry of Earth Sciences. Dr. V.M. Tiwari, Director of NGRI and Chairman of LOC. Dr. Alik Ismailzadeh, Secretary, International Science Council. Dr. Catherine Huera, President of IUGG, and Dr. Miura Mandela, President of IAGA. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of IASPE, I'd like to make an opening address for this joint scientific assembly of IAGA-IASPE 2021. IASPE, International Association of Seismology and Physics of Earth's Interior, is one of the 8 associations of IUGG and promotes the study of earthquake and other seismic sources, the propagation of seismic waves, and Earth's internal structure, property, and processes. IASPE has 7 commissions on seismological observation and interpretation, on tectonic physics and cluster structure, on earthquake generation process, physics modeling and monitoring of forecast, on earth structure and geodynamics, on earthquake hazard, risk, and strong ground motion, on earthquake source mechanics, and on education and outreach. Besides these topical commissions, IASPE has a unique feature to host regional commissions. There are European Seismological Commissions since 1951, Asian Seismological Commission since 1996, African Seismological Commission since 2011, Latin American and Caribbean Seismological Commission since 2013. These regional commissions meet biannually, typically with training courses to promote seismology in each region. IASPE also supports joint commissions and working groups with other associations of IUGG, such as International Heat Flow Commission, Volcano Seismology, or Tsunamis. Among them, EMSEV, Electromagnetic Studies of Earthquake and Volcano, is a working group jointly hosted by IAGA, IASPE, and IABSE, and participates in this assembly in joint session J3 and IASPE Symposia S12. They also hold their own workshops. Between IUGG General Assemblies held once in 4 years, each association of IUGG has their own scientific assembly. In recent years, because of overlapping scientific interests, 2 or more associations have joint scientific assemblies. 4 years ago, in 2017, IASPE had a joint assembly with IAG in Kobe, Japan. IAG and IASPE hosted 9 joint symposia and decided to establish a joint commission on seismogeodesy. IAGA and IASPE had 2 joint scientific assemblies in the past, back in 1969 in Madrid and 2001 in Hanoi, Vietnam. After 20 years since the last Hanoi meeting, in this scientific assembly, we will have 8 joint symposia. They are on Earth and planetary core structure and evolution, lithosphere structure and properties, lithosphere, atmosphere, and ionosphere coupling, joint inversion methods, cratons and mineral exploration, marine geophysics, analog data for the future, and education and outreach. These joint symposia indicate that IAGA and IASPE have many common interests, and we should continue our scientific interaction in the future. For this scientific assembly, the National Geophysical Research Institute, NGRI, a constituted research laboratory of the Council of Science and Scientific and Industrial Research, or CSIR, kindly served as a local organizing committee. Established in 1961, NGRI now has about 100 scientists and conducting world-class multidisciplinary research in geodynamics, earthquake hazard, and natural resources. Hence, NGRI is a very appropriate organization to host this joint scientific assembly. We missed the opportunity to visit Hyderabad in person and to personally meet and interact with NGRI researchers, but appreciate their efforts to make this first virtual scientific assembly happen. Besides NGRI, I'd like to acknowledge the Indian National Science Academy and the other Earth Science Institutes of DST, CSIR, and MOES for their support for this scientific assembly. I wish all participants enjoy this virtual conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Satake, for your address to this joint scientific assembly. So we have joined with us virtually Dr. Catherine Wheeler, President IUGG. She is a professor of geophysics at the University of Edinburgh, School of Geosciences in the Research Institute of Earth and Planetary Sciences. I invite her for the inaugural address for today's assembly.
Honorable guests, meeting organizers, and colleagues. In view of the time, I am going to cut short what I intended to say, much of which has been already mentioned by the previous speakers. So I will just talk for a few minutes. Let me just start off by saying that India has been hugely important to IUGG over a time span of decades. For example, it's hosted a number of scientific assemblies of the associations. Many Indian scientists have contributed and are contributing to the business of the union and its association, such as being members of the executive and the divisions, committees, commissions, and working groups of them all. Perhaps most notably, the previous now president of the union, Harsh Gupta. They've also contributed to the workings of the union and inter-association commissions and to our joint programs, such as the International Lithosphere Program, which is joint with IUGS, and with the international years that IUGG has been involved with. I hope this illustrates how individual scientists can be involved in IUGG and make a difference, besides it offering a platform for presenting and discussing their research. And I strongly encourage all scientists involved in the associations, particularly early career researchers, to be involved in the workings of the union and its associations as well. Our science is crucial to the well-being of planet Earth and its inhabitants and biodiversity. The climate crisis is upon us, and with it, an increase in the frequency and severity of natural hazards. Many of these are addressed by IUGG scientists and associations. Many of these are now also cascading or intersecting hazards. We've seen an example of that just very recently with the earthquake in Haiti, followed by now hurricane. Previously, we've had difficulties with communications in times of natural hazards when that's coincided with a geomagnetic storm. And this is very, very much illustrating the importance of scientists working together to address these hazards. IUGG is linking within its associations and with other relevant partner organizations to do this. Our science, of course, also addresses the Sustainable Development Goals and has many aspects of societal relevance beyond those. I would emphasize, though, that we do have a very strong contribution to make, and we must not forget the importance of basic science. The pandemic has perhaps shown the importance of this, and we must be involved with communicating science and overcoming fake news. I should say at this point that the IUGG has signed up to be a partner in the proposed International Year of Basic Science for Sustainable Development. And I think this will offer us a platform to work with other like-minded organizations, other unions, other countries, other organizations to address basic science and show how it can be used to tackle sustainable development issues. We've already heard about previous joint IAGA-IASPEI scientific assemblies. I was actually at the last one in Hanoi, Vietnam, as Professor Sataki said 20 years ago. I'm greatly looking forward to this one. I'm participating in it, as are several of my group here in Edinburgh. It's a great shame it's online, but I'm sure we will still reap the enormous benefits of all the tremendous efforts that have been put in, both by the association executives and also by the local organising committee. It's going to be a fantastic meeting, I'm sure. On behalf of the IUGG Bureau, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the organisation and the running of the meeting that we're about to embark upon, and to wish everyone a very successful meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wheeler, for joining with us today and for your inaugural address. So today we are grateful with the gracious presence of the chief guest of the Joint Scientific Assembly, Honorable Minister of State for Science and Technology and Earth Sciences, Dr. Jitendra Singh. I request Honorable Dr. Jitendra Singh to kindly deliver the keynote address for today's session.
Good evening, Professor Catherine Wheeler, President, IUGC, Professor Elik Ismail Jade, Secretary, ISC, Professor Mayara Mandia, President, IAGA, Professor Kenji Satake, President, IASPEI, Professor Ashutosh Sharma, Secretary, Ministry of Earth Sciences, Government of India, Dr. M. Rajivan, former Secretary, Ministry of Earth Sciences and Chairman, National Advisory Committee, Government of India, Professor Shekhar C. Mande, Director General, Council of Scientific and Industrial Research and Secretary, Department of Scientific and Industrial Research, Government of India, Dr. V.M. Tiwari, Director, CSIR-National Geophysical Research Institute, Hyderabad, who also happens to be the chairman of the local organizing committee. At the outset, I have to welcome you all and also be happy to be part of this inaugural session. Though, as was being rightly mentioned sometime earlier by Professor Mayaro Mandia, that we might be missing being in the company of fellow scientists at Hyderabad. And I would add to that, that also missing the sumptuous hospitality that we might have expected from Dr. V.M. Tiwari, who is now actually getting away without even offering a cup of tea. But nevertheless, the inaugural ceremony of the Joint Scientific Assembly of the International Association of Geomagnetism and Aeronomy and the International Association of Seismology and Physics of the Earth's Interior is indeed a prestigious occasion and also a very momentous occasion for all of us, particularly those who are associated with the scientific fraternity and also the research in the concerned fields. And also a healthy initiative that the two organizations have come together for a joint assembly session. And that also gives me an opportunity to retreat what the Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, has been advising from time to time, asking us to come out of silos and try to be more collaborative as far as possible in order to pool our resources for better outcomes and with more cost-effective means. As we all know, Geology as a recognized discipline of science was born somewhere in late 18th century. But over the years and over the centuries and over the decades, the field observations, the laboratory experiments, the theoretical work, the research has actually given us a headway in studying the processes concerned with our land, our oceans, our rivers and forests. But the importance of the science of the composition, structure and processes which govern this planet has probably reached its zenith today. And I'm glad that we are part of the times that we live in, because this is the time when the human society is grappling with the challenges of multiple levels of interaction with the Mother Earth. And that gives us an opportunity to perform, to contribute, and also to demonstrate our ability to overcome these challenges. The Earth's geosphere, biosphere, cryosphere, hydrosphere, atmosphere interact to produce the environments of which we are familiar with. The first geomagnetic observatory was opened way back in the year 1826. We have traveled a long way since then. The history of instrumental earthquake monitoring in India dates back to as far as 1898, when the first seismological observatory was established in Alipore, Calcutta, now known as Kolkata, in 1898. And historically, this happened soon after the infamous Shillong earthquake of 1897, which was among the deadliest of such happenings, with a magnitude of 8.7. And therefore, with all this experience behind us, it's a fitting environment for the two scientific communities to come together and to carry forward our research in their niche, as well as pursue new avenues of cross-disciplinary investigations. CSIR has provided leadership in several important national R&D missions, and I'm sure it's going to also make a contribution of significance here. The IAGA and the IASPEI have come together to hold a joint assembly this year, which, as we know, is being hosted by CSIR and GRI with the support of the Ministry of Earth Sciences. And one of the objectives would be to understand the linkage between the deep earth structure and geomagnetism and the role of fluids in earthquake nucleation, which are examples to emphasize the significance of the joint scientific assembly of the two associations to promote cross-disciplinary research and understanding with more fruitful and supplemented outcomes. While the original proposal to hold this conference, as was being mentioned by the President, was that it would be a full physical conference, but because of the COVID pandemic, it could not be possible. Nevertheless, I'm glad that we have still been able to make it, even though semi-virtually. And I'm sure this would also enable the young researchers to be inspired to forge collaborations and construct cross-disciplinary science proposals, which is also the mandate of the Government of India headed by Prime Minister Modi. To make a very significant point from the point of view of the country that we represent, or I represent, as we have now sufficient evidence to say, Indian subcontinent is prone to earthquake disasters. It's one of the world's most disaster-prone areas in terms of earthquakes, landslides, cyclones, floods, tsunamis. And there have been some of the very severe incidences of devastating earthquakes in the Indian subcontinent, beginning from Shillong in 1897, which I just mentioned a few moments ago, followed by Kangra earthquake 1905, Bihar, Nepal 1934, Assam 1950, Bhuj 2001, which is quite recent, Kashmir 2005, even more recent, and very recently Sikkim 2011 and Manipur 2016. So there has been a long history of serial earthquakes happening in this region, which is possibly the world's most earthquake-prone regions. And as we all know, that in spite of the best equipment and resources available with us, it is not easy or possibly next to impossible to predict an earthquake with the present state of knowledge and the understanding that we have at our command. But the pursuit and the endeavor continues. And let me add over here that India already had about 115 earthquake observatories. And by the end of this year, we plan to open up 35 new observatories and later on add 100 more to this by the year 2026. And I think this has been possible because of the special impetus given by Prime Minister Modi to technological understanding of the disasters and also the technological upgradation of the means to confront disasters, which is borne out by the factor that before 2014 or till now, if we had 115 earthquake observatories in nearly 70 years after independence, in the last 6 to 7 years under Prime Minister Modi, we are going to have 35 by this year end and 100 more by 2026, which is many-fold more, and which is also a reflection of the kind of prioritization given by the present government to this area and this sector. I would also like to mention that the Ministry of Earth Sciences is supporting geochronological research studies in collaboration with the Inter-University Accelerator Center. And I take this opportunity to retreat and to press upon the commitment of India to support various projects of earth science and earth system science to quantify the seismic hazard for better land use and urban planning, and for creating disaster resilient infrastructures which would help us reduce risks and ultimately pave the way to sustainable development. As I said, if we cannot predict earthquakes at this point of time, at least we can work to prevent the damage accruing from them. And before taking long and before the connection goes off, and I continue talking to myself, I would conclude by saying that I hope the Joint Scientific Assembly of the International Association of Geomagnetism and Aeronomy and the International Association of the Seismology and Physics of Earth's Interior will act as a catalyst in bringing on board a greater number of researchers and practitioners from the global community. And the collaboration that we have started in these two areas will actually widen for a larger collaboration in larger spheres of scientific activity. I thank the local organizing secretary, the committee, the chairman, Dr. V.M. Tiwari, for having made me a part of this academically important event. I am sure the deliberations during this assembly would provide a new dimension of understanding, and I look forward to partake and to be receiving those conclusions and minutes with a great degree of enthusiasm and curiosity. Thank you very much once again, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, sir, for enlightening us with your kind words. May I now request the chief guest to kindly release the abstract volume of the Joint Scientific Assembly of IAGA and IASPEI 2021. Sir, please. Thank you very much, sir. Today's inaugural session is nearing its end, but there is a long way to go for the researchers and also in this virtual conference, which is scheduled till 27th August 2021. I invite Director CSIR-NGRI and Chairman Local Organizing Committee Joint Scientific Assembly, Dr. V.M. Tiwari, once again to kindly deliver the vote of thanks.
Honorable Minister for Science and Technology and Earth Sciences, Dr. Jiten Singh Ji, Dr. Rajivan, Chairman of the National Advisory Committee and former Secretary, Ministry of Earth Sciences, Government of India, Professor Asutosh Sharma, Secretary, Department of Science and Technology and Ministry of Earth Sciences, Professor Shekhar Shimande, DG CSIR and Secretary DSIR, delegates, invitees, and guests. Namaskar and warm greetings to all of you. I am honored and privileged that our institute, CSIR-National Geophysical Research Institute, hosts the opening ceremony of the IAGA-IASPEI Joint Scientific Assembly 2021. And as Professor Kenji Satake mentioned, probably this is after 20 years in the history that these joint assemblies are being held in Asia and probably in world today. I have opportunity to propose a vote of thanks to each and everyone who have extended their kind support towards the success of this event. The journey of this event started in the year 2017 in Kobe, Japan, when India has made a bid under the auspices of Indian National Science Academy, the adhering body of IGSU, to organize this assembly. And after presentation of the bid again in Cape Town, South Africa, the bid was voted positively by the representatives of more than 50 countries. In 2019, during the Centennial General Assembly of IUGG, the plans of joint scientific assemblies were presented to IAGA and IASPEI, and preparations were initiated, which were attended by the Chairman, Joint Scientific Assembly, National Advisory Committee, Dr. Rajivan. The General Secretaries of IAGA and IASPEI made a physical visit to the venue facilities in Hyderabad during February of 2020 for preparation towards the physical meeting. However, as you all know, these preparation came to the grinding halt due to the global pandemic, and the meeting was decided to be held virtually. The local organizing committee, comprising of scientists from the host and supporting earth science institutions of the country, and my colleagues at CSIR-NGRI, particularly Dr. Sri Nagesh, Dr. Kusmita Arora, Dr. Patro, and Dr. Nandan, have worked tirelessly to make this happening today. I sincerely acknowledge the efforts of all the members of LOC and my colleague at CSIR-NGRI, as well as the timely support from Ministry of Earth Sciences for the participations of Indian delegates. Probably this is highest in any international IUGG assembly so far. It's more than 150. I thank IAGA and IASPEI for their constant backing throughout the program preparation. The Secretary Generals, Monica Corte and Johannes Swinger, are gratefully acknowledged for their contribution towards organization of the scientific program of the conference and IAGA-IASPEI schools to train doctoral students. Program committee has put together The entire program is spanning over 2 weeks, including the IAGA and IASPEI schools, the gift workshop. It's a very innovative workshop, sir. This is called Geoscience Information for the School Teachers. This workshop has been held in which the countries like Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, and other neighboring country teachers have participated. And the main conference, which we are initiating, starting today. Today is also a very special occasion for all of us when the world leaders in geophysics, the president of IUGG, IAGA, IASPEI, Professor Weller, Professor Mandia, and Professor Satake, and Secretary General of International Science Council, Dr. Jade, shared the stage, albeit virtually, to flag off this joint assembly. We sincerely thank them for their kind gesture. Professor Mande, as the head of CSIR family, has been pillar of support through times of the difficult changes that accompanies our journey for organizing this event. Dr. Rajivan, along with the other members of the National Advisory Committee that includes also our past director and past president of IUGG, Professor Harsh Gupta, has guided throughout the journey of preparation. It has been a delight to interact with Professor Ashutosh Sharma on this subject, though for a while, and we feel his unwavering weight behind our endeavors, and we are grateful to all of them. Today, we are very fortunate that chief guest of the inaugural function, Honorable Minister for Science and Technology and Earth Sciences, Dr. Jitendra Singh Ji, has gone out of his way to spare his time from his very busy schedule. Most of you may be aware that he has several responsibilities in the government, agreed to grace the occasion and bless us on this momentous day. The earth science and particularly geophysical community will be greatly enthused by his gracious presence, and it will have a long-lasting impact on the earth science community. With his guidance, the fruits of science, particularly earth sciences, will be optimized for the living planet and the humanity. We have no words to thank you, sir. This has been very kind of you, and we extremely feel sorry that for very short time, the connection were troubling us, and we could not continue the function as planned. I also thank all who have joined physically and online, and wish all the delegate scientists a very fruitful week ahead. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you very much, sir. And thank you everyone for joining with us. May I now request all to kindly rise for the national anthem.
जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
We have some gift for the dignitaries. We request Director NGRI to kindly present the gift. So we have high tea arranged. So I request everyone and invite everyone to please have high tea.